So, if you've been reading online about retirement or just saving in general, you've probably come across some articles, talking about saving to different retirement accounts and, telling you that you should max out every bit of every retirement account that you possibly can. And what we're going to talk about today is, can you be saving too much for retirement? So, if you've been doing your own research, then that's a very common topic that comes up. What I want to talk about is kind of, how we determine if you're saving appropriately for retirement, and then maybe alternative vehicles, because the vehicle that you're saving to really matters. So, the first thing is to kind of define what saving too much would mean. Basically, if you are, in a position where you're saving to your 401k or something like that, maybe you're saving to a Roth IRA outside of that, um, you know, in relation to your spending goals and what you want to do in the future, you might be over saving to that specific goal of retirement. Now, in those 401k and IRA types of accounts, you're limited to basically saving for retirement, which is the point of those accounts. So those are good accounts, but it just means that if you are saving, let's say you have a lot of excess cash flow. Maybe you have goals of purchasing a vacation home, not in the immediate future, but in the near future. Maybe you should be dialing back your, contributions to retirement accounts in some form or fashion. We still would want you to get company match and make sure in some situations that you're getting as much tax deferral as possible as well. But the point is, this is really about a larger discussion about your goals and what your goals are. When you hear generic advice, that's kind of blasted out to the masses, just max your 401k, max your Roth IRA, do backdoor this, backdoor that. That doesn't really take into consideration your specific goals and your situation. So that's what I really want to hammer home. Another thing to consider too is that there's other ways, and a lot of people don't know this, there's other ways to save and invest. You don't have to save and invest in your employer, sponsored retirement plan or inside of an IRA. You can save and invest in a vehicle like a brokerage account. And so going back to that example of, maybe, you have this sort of vague idea that you want to have a vacation home in the mountains in the future. Well, if that purchase is going to happen sometime before, you're retired or you hit that age 59 and a half, which is when you can actually start taking money out of retirement accounts penalty free, then maybe you want to save to something like a brokerage account. Because what you can do is basically save to that account. You're not going to get tax, advantages necessarily. It falls under different rules like capital gains tax. But there's way less stringent requirements around withdrawals and timing. So, depending on your age, that may be more appropriate. So that's just something I wanted to talk about today. Really, the bottom line is, are you saving too much for retirement? It depends on your goals, near term, and then, kind of midterm, and then specifically retirement. And then also it depends on, how much available cash flow you have and tax deferral. So the bottom line is, it really comes down to your specific situation. I hope this is helpful.